Hello, Brightmoor. Thank you for joining us this evening for our missions information session with you. We're so happy that you joined. We appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn about missions. We will be quick, I promise. We'll be done by 7:30 for you. This is an interactive. This is why we're live. You can certainly in our chats, if you're joining us via Facebook or YouTube or on our web, in that chat room there, you can certainly ask questions, as many questions as you want as we're going through our session tonight. So again, thank you. Thank you for your interest in missions. I love missions. That is the heartbeat of Brightmoor and the heartbeat of God. And so we're just grateful for you tonight. Thank you for for those of you who give to missions, those of you who pray for missions, and those of you who go to make a difference and impact in our world. So I just want to tell you, we have our missions brochure here. There is a phone number that you can text, and if you text IMPACT, IMPACT, you'll get this immediately within 1 minute. They will send you this in the e-brochure fashion, so you can kind of keep along with us. We'll be going through this whole brochure. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to make sure that you put it in the chat room. Well, for those of you, if you don't know, my name is Pastor Lisa. I am the Missions and Outreach Pastor here at Brightmoor Christian Church. I've been on staff here for probably about 11 years now, but long before I was on staff, Brightmoor was my home for 21 years, my husband and I and my family. And so we love Brightmoor, and missions has been a part of that since day one. And so we love missions. We also, because missions has grown over the last 11 years, we added Jamie Fitzgerald onto our staff. She is our local outreach director. My job is primarily global missions, and her job is local. So I'm sure you've seen her around as well. So we'll get started quickly and just kind of go through, and Jamie, you can let us know. I'd like to just recap on really 2021 wasn't or 2020 wasn't a great year, obviously, right. But COVID did not stop missions. We still were very busy in the missions department. So why don't you give us a little bit of recap on what we did in 2020?
Right, absolutely. So there's so much to celebrate, and even kind of a dark year. COVID didn't close missions. Listen, the mission to reach the lost is never canceled, not at Brightmoor, and so we're really excited about that. Each ministry adapted in some way to let their mission go forward. We had 1,398 local missioner outreach volunteers. That's incredible. 163 of them were volunteering with us for the very first time in a pandemic. You guys are amazing. We had 23 mission trip members go to 2 different places, to El Salvador, to Lakeland, Florida. We did 4 COVID outreaches to touch the people that we thought might be most affected by COVID, those who were shut in or our elderly friends. We reached out to foster and adoptive families who might have been struggling a little bit. We also took care of our healthcare personnel. We had 2 major serve days, and we served across 9 Metro Detroit locations, and you guys just totally knocked it out of the park this holiday season. You donated 462 bags of Thanksgiving groceries, and you donated 886 Christmas toys. Brightmoor, there's so much to be proud of for 2020.
So remember, again, we're going to start going through this booklet. If you would like it, you can text IMPACT to the number there on the screen, and within 1 minute you'll have it and be a part of missions. And so we're going to go through our global trips. Unfortunately, we're kind of going really day by day in the missions department, especially when it comes to global trips. With COVID, it really hasn't, it's gone down, of course, but it hasn't really, opened the doors wide for us to go into other countries. But I want to be prepared that if God does allow for those doors to open for us to go into different countries, I want to be ready and get our teams ready to go as well. And so our missions trip, I'm just going to go through, it's not really in order of date, but we are going to Kenya. In September, end of September, beginning of October. We love Africa. We'll be going with World Serve and working with a community there called the Maasai people. If you've been to Africa, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We'll be going into the villages there in the bush, in remote villages, and we'll be giving medical care to literally hundreds of people. In the past, when we've gone to Tanzania, they have people will walk 6 hours just to get to our medical outreaches, and so this happens about 4 days. So we'll have, if you're a medical personnel and or just interested in medical, we need volunteers for that whole area. Please feel free to come. We need doctors, nurses, things like that. Prescription, we'll be giving out prescription medication and all of those things. So we'll be doing medical. On top of medical, we always add a construction component to our global trips. That's where we go in and we help the local church to build so that they wouldn't be able to do things that we obviously would be able to bring the resources in doing. So we will be going to Kenya, working with medical and construction at the beginning of October. At the moment, for our international trips, we are asking for COVID tests to be taken. So for you to either have a COVID test and or be vaccinated. And then in order to be in a test, just so that you're aware of that, in order to be in a trip, I'm sorry. And that's right now. We don't really know what's going to happen in October, but as far as the planning is going, that's really where we're at. We also will be going to the Philippines and working with an orphanage there. There's a great missionary that has a ginormous plot of land, and he has an orphanage to girls who come straight out of human trafficking, who have been abandoned by their parents to be able to, so he takes them in, and right now they have close to 60 young girls, all different ages, and we'll be going there. This primarily is a group for women only. Our first trip, we'd like to have just women. We did that with India just to kind of see what's happening, and hopefully we're hoping that we'll be able to go in 2021 and make that several trips to go there to do several different projects. So that's an all women's trip. That will be happening in the beginning of November. As of right now, I have a prayer request. As of right now, we're not able to get into the Philippines, and there's such a need for us to go. And so I'm just praying that the Lord would open the doors. They're not allowing visas for visitors. And so we're just hoping that the Lord would open up the doors for us to go into the Philippines so we can give much needed ministry and partner with our missionary, our AG missionary that's on the field there. So any questions on that, please feel free to send those. We are going to Alaska. We're actually going 3 weeks in a row. We have 3 separate teams that are going to Alaska. That's really considered a home missions trip. And that is working with Paul Burkhart. Many of you know Paul. He is a graduate of Franklin Road Christian School, now Novi Christian School. Just Brightmoor born, and so a lot of you know him and his wife Crystal, and they are really top of the line missionaries. We love them. We love partnering with them. They're very successful, highly effective missionaries, and so we are going there. They have a training center there in Fairbanks. And basically, we're building an addition onto that training center. What that training center does is it's a village marketplace for him to train missionaries to as teachers. So he certifies the teacher. They get certified as teachers, and then they're able to go back into their remote villages as missionary teachers. So it's kind of business as mission there in Fairbanks, and it's such a great unique idea that he's doing there, where he brings them into this training center. They get certified as licensed teachers, and then they go back to their villages and they preach the gospel and they teach. School is not available for everyone in those remote areas, and so on top of that, they're able to go in and teach for the villages there. And so we are so looking forward to that. That is happening 2 weeks in a row, beginning in June, end of May, beginning of June. These trips are filled. I'm sorry, we had to get that going last year. Normally this info meeting would have happened in November of 2020. So we're a little bit late due to COVID restrictions and things like that. But we do have 2 teams going into Alaska back-to-back, construction teams. And then we also have a 3rd team, Cortec, which is an IT company. Gentleman in our church owns that company, and they are going in the 3rd week, and they're putting in a full media center, very similar to what you see here, and they'll be able to podcast to those remote villages, to cell phones, and just different things like that. So great opportunity. Those teams are filled, but I do ask that you would continue to keep us in prayer and keep our teams in prayer as well. And so we do have, now we move over to our young adults. I'm just so grateful for our young adults, our children's, our youth ministry. They have such a heart for missions. And so it's not just the adults, but we have from small age all the way up through adults, where we are building a missions as a lifestyle. We want that to be the DNA of the next generation. And I'm grateful that we have pastors that are in line with that mission, and it's just been a good thing. So Pastor Eric, Pastor Eric and a Diamond, I'm sorry, there are young adult pastors, and they are going to be doing a VBS in Detroit this year. They will not be going on a missions trip, but their missions trip will be a 1-day VBS that they're doing in Detroit. We're partnering with another AG church and bringing a VBS to a much needed community. Our youth are going, so the middle school, they're going to Gaylord, or no, this is the 5th grade missions trip, I'm sorry. I love the 5th grade missions trip. They're so cute, and they're ready and willing to go and do missions and serve the Lord and serve the community in a great way. In the past, we've gone to Lakeland, Florida several years in a row. This year, we're changing it up a bit, and Pastor Jimmy is taking the kids to Gaylord, Michigan, and they're going to work with a church there, partner with a church that's in Gaylord, and help them in their community, do a lot of cleanup, and also serve different areas in that community. So if you have a 5th grader, this is open, of course. Please feel free to send your 5th graders. This is going to be such a fabulous trip. And listen, missions trips it changes lives. And so please, if you have a 5th grader, sign them up, talk to Pastor Jimmy and his team, and they'd love to have you. Then the youth, the young adults, the youth middle school, they're going to New Mexico, and they'll be working in a rural, poor area of New Mexico, and these teams also are filled. I'm sorry. They launched this a few months back, and it filled up quickly. This is where our missions teams are really starting to fill up fast. And I love that, because that means that people are interested in missions and willing and ready to go. And hopefully next year we'll have more opportunities for, more missions trips, which means more opportunities for people to sign up to go. This year we had to limit it, unfortunately, because of COVID. So that's why these teams filled up as fast as they did. But just as your information, just for information for you, the middle school, they're going to New Mexico, and then the high schoolers are going to Texas. So they too are not going out of the country. Right now, the Assemblies of God is working to get us to get out of the country. The missionaries are starting to work their way back to make their way back to their countries, and so just keep missions in prayer, global missions in prayer. Now, one great thing that COVID did for us, if it was a blessing, it really helped us. Our local outreach was great before, but really it's moved to a different level. It's helped us to think outside the box and really concentrate on our local area. Jamie's been doing a fantastic job on that, and so now we're going to move to our local outreaches.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Pastor Lisa. And I would like to, one of my favorite quotes from Pastor Jamie is, "What good is it to win the whole world for Jesus, but yet lose our own backyard?" And so I'd love to kind of do a deep dive on some of our local missions. It sounds like we might have a question.
We sure do. So the question comes from Sheila Jackson Ricks. And the question is, can adults go on the missions trips with the teens or kids? I assume they need chaperones or helpers.
yeah, thank you, Sheila. That's a great question. So Sheila asked if adults could go on the younger trips for like young adults, kids, and youth. And the answer to that is depends. So usually what ends up happening, especially with the youth in the 5th grade missions trip, are the parents go, they're chaperones. And so we usually don't have a shortage in parents wanting to go on those missions trips, but we appreciate you doing that, and I can certainly keep you in mind for if we are in need for chaperones, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Digging into some of our local ministries, who I love, I wanted to start with kind of who do we serve? Who does local missions serve? And following along on this book, and again, you're welcome to text IMPACT to the number if you'd like this delivered to your phone. Jesus loves the addict. God loves the addict. And this is, we've seen a spike in addiction, especially over COVID, but this has been a ministry that's always been near and dear to our heart. So we partner with Life Challenge, an excellent ministry, a 1-year residential program to help break the bonds of addiction, and we partner with them in 2 ways. The first is we offer life skills so that they can set themselves up for successful independent living after the program is complete. And that's a series of courses right here on campus. We call that ministry level 4. It's the 4th level before they've completed the Life Challenge program. The second way we love to partner with Life Challenge is called Power of One. That's a one-to-one mentor relationship. And so if you're shaking the bonds of addiction, it often requires a lifestyle change, a change in who you spend your time with. This is an excellent opportunity to model a healthy adult relationship and be the person that they can kind of launch with, right, into the new life that they've chosen for themselves. And so it's an excellent way to get involved. Here's a couple of ways that you can make an impact here. You can be a mentor. That's an excellent way to do it. Both men and women, there's mentorship opportunities available. Or you can be a class facilitator. If there's professional expertise that you have in budgeting and employment and healthy relationships, health and wellness, you can certainly add to that here. It sounds like we might have another question.
We sure do. So the question comes from Daniel Davenport, and it is, if a trip is canceled, is the payment towards the trip refunded?
Yes. Yes. So Daniel asked if you sign up for a trip, you pay for your trip, and the trip is canceled. Yes, the answer to would you be refunded, and the answer to that is yes. Delta, our airlines have been fantastic throughout COVID. If you remember, 2020 was our year of 555, where we had 5 trips planned to 5 continents, and all of those, with the exception of El Salvador, was canceled. So we had 4 major trips that were canceled, and all were refunded. So yes, they have been a great partner in this whole COVID with canceling and rescheduling and things like that. So yes.
Thank you for that great question. Diving back in, now we're on to the athlete. For God so loved the athlete. Now, I have to be honest with you guys. I did not grow up as an athlete, but I have 2 children who are serious athletes right now. And so prior to my experience with them, I would have said kind of sports. But listen, I understand now the influence of a coach and the way that they can speak into the life of an athlete. And so that's why I love Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's leveraging that power of sports to introduce athletes to Jesus. It's a wonderful, wonderful ministry. Partner with a lot of schools across Metro Detroit. And so let's get involved. How can you make an impact? You can lead a Bible study, which they call their huddle. There's also a summer sports camp at Albion College in the summer, Lord willing this summer, and you're able to be a coach at that one as well. So that's a great way to get plugged in, especially if kind of sports is your thing. It's an excellent ministry for you.
And just to add to that, so one of our own is now a missionary with Fellowship Christian Athlete, and that's Glenn Blackwell. And we're so happy that he has joined that organization as an official missionary. And Glenn is a great member of Brightmoor Christian Church and a great brother to me and my husband. And we are just so, he really, if you look on, his information is on that page. Feel free to, many of you probably already have his cell number, feel free to text him or email him, and he'll plug you right into this area of ministry.
In the book right now we're at For God So Loved the Disadvantaged. So we love our community barbecue outreach, kind of formerly known as homeless barbecue, but the reality is that you don't have to be traditionally homeless to need the things that we're offering, the food, the clothing. And so community barbecue is probably a better fit. So we're bringing the good news, the most important part, and good food to under-resourced communities in Pontiac and now in Highland Park. We're thrilled to partner with Revival Tabernacle on the 4th Saturday. So it's the 2nd and 4th Saturdays of every month. Rain or shine, we are serving our friends. And you know what's interesting is we bring food and clothing, but those are just the bridges to relationship. And there's one relationship I wanted to share with you. Brett and Casey Moore helped lead this ministry, and Casey actually developed a really cool relationship with a woman in Pontiac. Early on when they started coming, I think they've been there for 3 years now, she refused prayer. Can I pray with you? No, thank you. Can I pray with you? No, thank you. You fast forward, and that consistency and that relationship building, that woman actually had a baby and specifically invited Casey to come see her at the hospital and is now attending a local church. And that's what it's about. The food and the
great.
Clothing is just the bridge to
Yeah.
a relationship.
Yeah,
And
that's a fantastic story. And just to add on to sorry, I keep cutting
you're
you
right.
off.
You're right.
Just to add on to the homeless outreach, or the community barbecue outreach, it's called now. This is just a great way. This is a great entry point for you to get into missions. That's really what this outreach is designed for. We welcome families to come. It's
Right.
a great opportunity for you and your family to come and get your kids out and get them working as well and serving our community. And sometimes even if you're not able to go, we have families that will take the Friday night before the outreach and they'll make peanut butter sandwiches, or they'll bake cookies, or just different things like that. They'll make a pot of soup and then drop it off on Saturday morning for us to take down there. And so there's many ways to get involved, and this is a great outreach, easy outreach for you to come to, you and your family to be a part of.
Absolutely, absolutely. The next set of ministries gets right to Brightmoor's DNA. So over 25 years ago, we committed to caring for foster children, and we started a summer camp ministry. Why? The Bible is crystal clear that to care for the orphan and the widow is pure and blameless religion. That's James 1:27. And so if you fast forward, we've built on that foundation set 25 years ago, and we've expanded our foster care ministries for the entire spectrum of foster care. Now we're through prevention and helping families in crisis before CPS or other state agencies have to get involved in that relationship, through when the child is in foster care, and even ministries when they've aged out of foster care. So let's get started with prevention. That is Safe Families for Children. It's ministering to families in crisis. Listen, here's what we've learned in foster care. Oftentimes, children are removed from their home because of neglect, but neglect looks a little bit different than we might expect. It might be you don't have enough beds for the children that you have, or maybe you're short on food, or maybe there's gaps of employment. And what we found is that there's a lot of excellent parents who are trying their very best, but there's some short-term barrier that they just need help overcoming to be the best parent that they can be to their children. And that's where we step in. We don't need to let them go to rock bottom and then have the state intervene, and that's Christian hospitality. So here's a couple ways that you can get involved with Safe Families for Children. You can be a host family. So this is not foster care. This is just Christian hospitality. You take the child in anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months, and they have an open relationship with their parent because the parent's rights aren't terminated. You can be a friend to that parent. You can help them walk through that temporary thing. Hey, can I drive you to a job interview? Do you need a new dress for this job interview? Can I help you with a doctor appointment? There's just something, a little barrier that they need a friend to walk alongside them and help them move through it. Excellent, excellent ministry. It started in Chicago, and they found that since it's been in place, the entry rate into foster care has decreased by 50%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For sure.
So excellent way to get involved if foster care is kind of where your heart lies. But what happens when the child moves into foster care or adoption? We do have a monthly support group for foster and adoptive families. It's called Open Arms, run by Janine Norris, who's both a foster and adoptive parent. I believe she fostered 15 children and has adopted 3. Excellent woman, an excellent resource, but this is just a group to come together. Listen, share your victories, share your struggles together with people who get it, who are walking on the same journey as you are, and just be a support and encouragement to one another and share resources. So that group meets each Wednesday of the month, and you can connect with Janine to know how to get plugged in there. For children who are in foster care, we'll start with kind of the younger ones in the 7 to 11-year-old range. There's a couple of ministries designed specifically for them. One is Royal Family Kids Camp, and just like the name suggests, it is a summer residential camp for children in foster care ages 7 to 11. And the goal here is just to create positive, life-changing moments. We treat the campers like sons and daughters of the Most High King, so that's where you get the name Royal Family Kids. And that's exactly the way that they're treated. It's just both Pastor and Lisa and I have served there many, many years.
Yes.
Life-changing. Will break your heart and then reaffirm your faith in the Lord in the way that He is totally using Brightmoor to take care of His children. There's an opportunity to be camp counselor, camp staff, or event staff. There's things that we do where we just bring some, particular staff on campus for that day to throw the children a birthday party or to have a fun water day, right?
Yeah.
Water balloons, the whole thing. So many different ways to get involved. It would be great if you could be there for a week, but if not, there's other opportunities. So when camp happened, we developed relationship with these kids, and they take our hearts in just 7 short days, and then we're left wondering what happens to them. How can we build that relationship? So that's where we got Royal Family Kids Club and mentoring. So we are building on those relationships we started at camp and a one-to-one mentor relationship, and we still come together as a group once a month. They get Bible stories, they get the same arts and all the same songs that they were singing at camp, and continue that camp experience through the school year. Here's what I love about Royal Family Kids Club, but can also break your heart. Oftentimes, the relationship that the mentee has with their mentor lasts longer than their home placements. We found that time and time again. And Pastor Lisa, you and your husband Dan have mentored brothers for I don't even know how many years that I've lost count.
It's been a long
But many mentors find that they are the longest stable adult relationship in that child's life, longer than their case managers, longer than their home placement. So it's an critically important ministry.
Yeah, we love Royal Family at Brightmoor. If you've been a part of Brightmoor for any time, I'm sure you have heard about Royal Family Kids Club and camp. And I think this was our 25th year. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we weren't able to have camp last year, but we will this year. It may look a little bit different, a little bit lighter, but certainly will continue on with camp. Like I said, we're moving forward, and if the Lord wills it, then we'll be ready to open up missions completely. So looking forward to that. Well, one thing we wanted to move over to is really, so we have the preventative measure with Safe Families, and then we move from 6 years old to 11 years old in Royal Family Camp and Club, and then we have our teen outreach that now kind of encompasses from 12 years old really through 24. So we've really kind of moved all of the teen and the young adult outreaches or camps, foster outreach into one ministry, and we put it under the New Foster Care. So the New Foster Care is an excellent organization. It was birthed out of Brightmoor Christian Church. It was a ministry here that just originally started for events for foster families and adoptive families, and it turned into really this huge ministry. And so it's now its own 501. There's an executive director, a full staff, and so we are now moving into just a great partnership with the New Foster Care. So we have our teen was formerly TRAC, our Teen Reach Adventure Camps. They're now under the New Foster Care. There was a transition there that happened, and so we are now this year, because of COVID, we're only doing one day. We would have two camps, two weekend camps, where it would be one for girls, one for boys, and now we're just doing 2 weekends, but one day, a Saturday for boy, and then the next week is a Saturday for the girls. Lots of help is needed in this area. There was transition in leadership and transition with, volunteers, and so we could really use a lot of help if the Lord has put on your heart to help foster teens, which is a very hard ministry. Please get involved in this. There's training involved and things like that. We need help with events and mentoring and those kind of things. We do have a mentoring program then that takes those children that go to those camps and mentor them for 8 months after. And so we pair them up with a great mentor, and the mentor then, very similar to Royal Family Club, mentors them for the remainder of the year. And so if you are, interested in teens, if teenagers is your thing, this ministry is for you, I promise. And then we move into where we're working with the foster young adults. So this is really primarily the New Foster Care that's taking care of this area with these kids from 17 through 24. And basically it's called we use a program called the Bridge Program, and we're helping those kids to really move from one side of the bridge to the other side. We want them to be successful in life. They don't have people teaching them, this is how you get a driver's license. This is how you apply for a job. This is how you interview for a job. They don't have that constant oversight and guidance to help them through that. And so what we've developed is 2 new ministries in partnership with the Bridge Program and New Foster Care. The first ministry is our life skills, very similar to Life Challenge, but a little bit different, geared towards the aging out foster youth. And again, their life skills class, teaching them all of those life skills that they need, that we take for granted, and that my kids they hate that I tell them about daily. These kids never get that. And so these life skills classes are helping them develop who they are, what gifts, what talents do they have, personality tests, gifting tests, and then helping them to move forward so that they're able to live a successful life. And then the second program that we have is the mentoring. So we're going to take those same kids and we're going to walk them through life. How many of you know that if you've had any interaction with the foster care ministry, foster care kids, youth, or aging out, life is tough for them. And so, what we're trying to do in our foster care ministry is to create an environment where these kids can have a chance at that abundant life that Christ promises us. And so, not only do we help them through life skills and help them through mentoring, but we also give them, everything we do is to give people an opportunity, a chance to accept that salvation that is only found through Jesus Christ. And we know that you can interview for jobs really well, but if you don't have Christ in your heart, then you're just getting a job. But we want for all of these kids, youth, and young adults to have an opportunity to accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And that's really the goal of everything that we do here in the missions department, for every missions trip, every outreach, every foster care event. Anything that we do is to reach the lost and to disciple the found. And so if you don't have to be a foster parent, you don't have to foster kids, you don't have to adopt them. We would love if you did it. That stops the cycle. However, there are a million different ways that you can get involved in the foster care ministry. So, thank you.
I love it. I love it. Again, if you're looking for this beautiful brochure, you are able to get it right to your phone if you text IMPACT, IMPACT, to the number that is found on the screen, and we'll send it right to your phone. We're right now focusing on the missionary. So we have Bended Knee Ministry, who I love, covers our missionaries and our ministries in intercessory prayer, and I am forever grateful for that prayer team. We know that you've provided us a hedge of protection, that you are encouraging us in our missionaries, and we're so thankful for that team led by Lee Leho. James 5:16 says, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective, and we absolutely believe that. So if you've been through Grow Track and you've identified intercessory prayer as your gifting, congratulations, you have found your ministry. We'd love for you to be part of Bended Knee. There are prayer teams for all ages. Listen, the Lord works through young people and more mature people alike, and so there are prayer groups for children, for teens, for more mature people, and we would love for you to be a part of that.
Not to interrupt you,
Sure.
Jamie, but I do want to call to your attention on page 14 and 15. That is a list of our 140 missionaries that Brightmoor supports. This is a great way just for you to see where the missionaries that we support, where they are, and pray for this. Maybe you can't come once a month to pray in a group, but you can certainly lift up our missionaries in prayer. I will have to add that you will see on page 15, there's a list of missionaries who are in sensitive countries, which means that they are in unreached people group areas and not able to say what they're there for. So please do not post or write or any of this. This cannot go online, but this is a great way to see who is our missionaries and be able to pray with them.
Our missions department proudly serves the prisoner, and I want to thank Bobby Thames and Keith Grant. This is actually a ministry that's probably 20 plus years old under their leadership, and they have an opportunity to touch 1,200 incarcerated friends across 5 Metro Detroit facilities. I've looked at their schedule before. I think they're in some facility, COVID willing, 6 days a week at least. And so we are so thankful for their work. Here's some really awesome news. In 2020, 300 people accepted or reaffirmed Jesus as their Savior through our prison ministries. And so that...
Yep, that's worth it.
Right, that's amazing. Yeah. There are some restrictions now with COVID. Obviously, we're looking for them to be lifted, but there's still ways to get involved. You're able to be a pen pal with a prisoner, to be a one-to-one mentor. And when the facilities open up again, we do actually facilitate church services inside of the facilities. And so really a varied way to get involved depending on your comfort level. Write a letter or mentor somebody in the facility. Either way, there's a place for you to serve there. We're moving on to victims, human trafficking victims. Wow. This is a really special ministry, Rahab's Outreach. I say if you want to love as Jesus loved, then you need to get messy as Jesus did, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a ministry that actually goes to human trafficking victims in the nighttime, and they are wise about their choices, but they understand that they need to reach people exactly where they're at. And so they bring food and they bring prayer and medical care to people who are bound in human trafficking once a month. And listen, I'll be honest with you. There's some ministries, as Pastor Lisa said, Homeless Outreach is absolutely family friendly. My kids have been several times, and a great way to get involved. Rahab's Outreach is something that we're going to need you to make a commitment to be there in that ministry for at least a year. We're building relationships. And if you can imagine just for a moment what these people are experiencing, this is not a drop-in ministry. This is something that you want to build relationship. It takes a long time to gain their trust, understandably. And so if you'd like to be part of the team, we'd love to have a conversation with you about what that looks like. But listen, you don't have to be there to be part of the ministry and support them. A great way to do it is to cover that ministry in prayer. They absolutely need it. And also meal prep. So I said we bring food. The food is prepared by people who either make a hot meal for the women to have right then, or what we call a cold meal kit. It's a Ziploc bag about this big that has some snacks, sandwich with bottled water. I'm sorry to say, but that's sometimes the food that the women have for the week. So that absolutely is meeting a tangible need in that ministry. And so that's a great way to get involved.
Yeah.
Then listen, Jesus loves the unbeliever, and I love this next ministry, Networkers. So many thanks to Steve Shell for getting that going. You know, networkers, we're not talking about trading business cards and who can you refer to me. We're talking about net workers, casting your net. Matthew 4:19, Jesus says, come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And so this is a great way to learn how to cast your net, where to cast your net. Listen, missions is something that Pastor Lisa and I passionately support, but it doesn't have to be a formal ministry. Missions can be in your workplace, and it is your workplace. It's your mission field. If you are interacting with your neighbors, that's your mission field. If you're taking your kids to a soccer game, that in fact is your mission field. And so this is a great way to say, Lord, can you teach me how to cast my net and how to help draw men unto you? And so great news, this is a perfect time to get involved. There is a Zoom meeting series every Thursday starting the first week in April. So just a week and a half, and you can dig right in, and we're ready to go. Yeah.
Great.
And lastly, I think we're coming up on the last page, our major outreaches. I love these days. I call them the Super Bowl of local missions.
Yep.
Listen, if you say, Jamie, I love the idea of missions. I don't know if I can do a week at camp. I don't know if I can, make a year-long commitment to Rahab's Outreach, but I can give you this Saturday. Welcome to major outreach, right? So it's a great way to set aside one day, oftentimes a Saturday, and make a huge impact. All ages are welcome. All of them are family friendly. It's a great opportunity for families to serve together. I know I've met a lot of parents who are trying to instill missions as a lifestyle with their children. This is the place to do it. We have one coming up in May, our medical and dental outreach, and I won't read all of them to you, but please jump in, and we will make sure that we will announce it from the pulpit and social media when the time comes, so you know it's time to register and how you can participate.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. It sounds like you're doing more work than I am. That was a lot.
Not at all.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We want you to get involved in missions. That's our passion here at Brightmoor. This is where we want you to really look over this booklet, pray over it, ask the Lord where He would send you. There's many opportunities for you to get involved here at in the missions department. And we're just so grateful for all of you who already are involved in missions, the leaders, and just those of you who are doing a great work with us. We can't do missions without you. Missions is much more than Jamie and myself. We just create the opportunities really for you to be used. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity that I'm grateful for a senior pastor that loves missions as well, and make sure that missions is our top priority here at Brightmoor. So thank you, Pastor Jamie. I know you're watching, and we're landing the plane on this. I know I took you a little bit longer tonight, but we just thought this would be a great opportunity to be able to explain missions and all the little things that go on that we're not able to explain from the pulpit every Sunday. And so I pray blessings over you and your family. If you have any questions, feel free to text that number, and we'll be sure to get back with you. And if you want to meet with us, we're always willing and ready to have conversations with people just to talk through and maybe encourage you in certain areas where we feel like, well, maybe this is a great area for you. And lastly, the best way to get involved is really to go through Grow Track.
Right.
If you have not been through Grow Track, that really is where we would ask that you would go in first. You don't have to go through Grow Track in order to get involved in missions, but it's just a great opportunity for you to actually dig in a little bit more, to learn about Brightmoor, learn about God, get connected, discover your purpose. You take personality and gifting testing, and then that way you're able to figure out exactly where God wants you in a good way. So listen, God bless you guys. We love you. We thank you. And we pray God's hand of favor and mercy and grace on your life. God bless you.